recording right now. So good evening, everybody. And because Justin have another appointment tonight, I will give it straight to Linda to say hi to our speaker.
Where'd he go? He's in there somewhere. So I went on a rabbit hole trail and came up with a bunch of programs for you guys, but Justin's story is pretty cool. He is the main inspiration behind Objective Zero. He's originally from Wheeling, West Virginia. He enlisted as an infantryman in the U.S. Army in April of 2003, served for 11 years, deploying twice to Iraq. He served as a rifleman with the 1st Battalion, 506th Infantry Regiment, was an infantry scout and sniper team leader with the 2nd Battalion, 12th Infantry Regiment, that's a mouthful, and was an infantry squad leader with the 3rd Battalion, 7th Infantry Regiment at Fort Stewart, Georgia. He also served as a military recruiter in Greensburg, Pennsylvania. He has an Associate of Arts degree from Columbia Southern University. He's always willing to share his story, and it's a pretty cool, if you're not inspired by this, I don't know what will inspire you, but he's the reason Objective Zero exists today with his friend. So I'm going to turn it over to Justin.
Thank you, Linda. I appreciate that. Like she said, and I'm from Wheeling, West Virginia. Joined the Army in April of 2003. I come from a family with a dad who was an alcoholic and a drug addict and was very abusive and was basically pulling me down into the world that he was into. And, I always wanted to serve, clear back as far as I can remember. And, it wasn't until 9/11 that it really just kind of solidified that that's what I would be doing. So I ended up joining the Army infantry after I graduated high school, and I did 11 months in Korea, went straight to Iraq from there. We were the first time our unit was activated in 50 years. So we deployed to Iraq, where I was with Alpha Company. And I was used to going out on missions with 4 Humvees and 4 guys. Well, one day we were rolling out of the wire and going out on mission. And we were only a couple hundred meters outside the wire, and we got hit by an IED, and it knocked me out. Well, when I came to, it was with my platoon sergeant, shaking me, making sure I was okay. So when I came to, he asked me, he's like, "You all right, Miller?" And I look down and I see I have all my limbs. I'm not bleeding anywhere. So I'm like, "Yeah, I'm good." I said, "But right now," I said, "my head is killing me." So he says, "Well, get on out of the turret and get down behind the driver. Or get down and drive." So I get down. I now have the driver's M4, which back then the gunners, we didn't carry magazines, because we just had 240 ammo. So I had 1 magazine on my chest. So I had no more than 60 rounds total. And my platoon sergeant says, "Let's go back there and we're going to investigate, see if we can find any type of intel." And as we were pulling in, there was an Iraqi police truck sitting there watching us. So he said, "We'll pull up to them and see if they happen to see anything." So as we pull up to them, they kick it in gear and they take off running. So we're chasing them down. I'm yelling for my gunner to shoot at them. I'm getting yelled at to shut up. And we're watching them just gain from us. And they make a left turn. And as we're making a left turn, 2 blocks up, we see them handing a camera off to a kid. Kid goes left, they go right. So as we're going up, platoon sergeant says, "Get the kid." We go find the camera. We don't find the kid. Camera was tossed in a courtyard. We end up going to the police station, finding the two guys. We go back to as we're at the police station, the in-sector commander, this is where the whole confusion comes into play. One, we all just got hit by an IED that knocked quite a few of us out, and if not, rang your bell really well. But the in-sector commander said, "All right, we're going to go back to investigate the house that you guys found the camera in." He goes, "I'm in a Bradley. Give me one of your guys. I'll go down, and your guys can ride with me. That way, if they put an IED in behind you, the Bradley will take it better than the Humvee was, or Humvee would." So at that point, I was already numb and already accepted that if I was going to die, it was going to happen one way or another. So I volunteered to go with them. So I ride down to the house in this Bradley. We go in, we raid the house. On the way out, the Bradley commander, in-sector commander, says, "All right, I need to go back," and I'm swapping out down by Ramadi. And he says, "But we need pictures." And I said, "Well, I have my camera." So he said, "All right, we'll go back in there and get pictures." So this is where the confusion happens, because he goes and gets in the Bradley and leaves, and my platoon sergeant starts loading up into the Humvees, and they leave. Well, I'm in the house taking pictures, going up the steps, and as I come around the balcony, as soon as I take the first step, the lady comes running in the house screaming. As she comes in the house, she makes eye contact with me, and she now goes from a panicked, anxious scream to a angry, vengeful scream where you can see the evil and the hatred when she was yelling. So I knew something wasn't right. I go down the steps, and as I'm walking outside, three guys about my size or bigger come walking in the courtyard. I didn't hear the Humvees leave, so I still assumed that out in the alleyway there was 4 Humvees with 4 guys. So as I'm walking past these guys, I shoulder check one of them, and I'm putting my camera away, and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And that's when I get out in the alleyway and I realize that there's a couple hundred Iraqis, not a single American, and they're all staring me down, not looking very happy. So the first thing went through my head was, put your weapon on semi and put your back up against the wall so they can't grab you from behind. And I was like, I knew the Humvees were facing that way. I know the main MSR is behind me. And I know, the base is only a couple miles down the road. I was like, all I got to do is get to the main road. I'll run back if I have to. As I started going down, they tried to swarm me. And, I just hit them as hard as I could with my M4. Just punching the muzzle into the ribs and their sternums. I can still, to this day, I can still hear it. I have nightmares of it when I'm reliving it. But I probably hit 10 to 15 guys, shoving them off me, keeping them, because they just, as I look left, they come from the right. When I look and start hitting them from the right, they come to the left. Until I made it down to the alley. And as I made it to the alley, I just took off running as hard as I could. Well, when I ran down, came to the T intersection, I looked left, there was nobody. And when I looked right, 2 blocks down, the last truck was turning. The gunner saw me and said, yelled for him to stop. As I turned right, as soon as I turned right, a single gunshot rang off and it hit the wall by my head. So I kind of shrugged my shoulders, kind of ducked down and looked behind me. as I was running, and that's when I noticed a crowd of them coming around the corner. As soon as they saw the Humvee with a machine gun pointed down, they stopped and stared me down as I was running back. I catch up and get to my platoon sergeant, and being an E3 to an E7, slamming them against a truck and threatening to kill them if they leave you again didn't go over very well. And then on top of that, the people, our relief, we were getting hammered so bad we didn't even have the trucks for our relief to relieve us in sector. We actually had to go back on the base, swap out all of our gear, and then our relief would go out and do their patrols. So we came back in, swapped out with our relief, which was my squad leader and the other gun team. And they took my XO out, who was my good friend that I was going to talk to about what just happened. And he told me, hey, I get to go out and do my job for the first time. Let me talk to you when I get back. I said, all right, that sounds good. He said, all right, I'll come find you as soon as I get back. The next thing I know, I'm being woken up by my best friend saying that we just lost our XO because of a car bomb. And I said, no. I said, I just talked to him. I just helped him load up. He said, I know they made it out of the wire, and they were in Alpha Sector and told to put a checkpoint up looking for this vehicle. And he was pulling security, and the vehicle plowed across the median and detonated. Said he didn't make it. So now I have my squad leader and everybody coming back, team leader coming back, that are very angry because we just lost our XO. And now they're hearing from my platoon sergeant that he messed up, left me behind, and then I threatened to kill him. So it all turned on me and didn't go over well. So this was actually one of the first issues of my military trauma, is from this situation, because I was now forced to go to the scout sniper section, where I was now going from me leaving the wire with 4 trucks, 4 guys, and 4 machine guns, to I'm now leaving the wire with me and 3 other guys, and that's it. And then also I was told I was not allowed to come back to Alpha Company because I was cancer and I was bad news. So everybody in Alpha Company thought that I traded, thought I was better than them. So I lost all my brothers from Alpha Company. And still to this day, a lot of them won't talk to me because they were told that I thought I was better than them and volunteered to go there. So there's still working on building those relationships back. So then I come back from that deployment, and they have an officer, therapist tells me, thinks I have PTSD, that I need to go to this other appointment. I tell my leadership about it, and my leadership says, well, what do you want to do with your career? And I said, well, I love the Army. I want to continue doing what I'm doing. They said, well, if you want to continue doing what you're doing, then don't go to that appointment. They said, if you go to that appointment, your career is over. They'll have you packing your stuff and you're going home. I said, well, what do I do? I said, I can't go out. I have anxiety. I have panic attacks. I have nightmares. I'm not sleeping. I said, what do I do? He says, well, let's do what I'm doing on the way home. Grab some beer and just drink each night until you get tired and eventually go to sleep. So that was what we did. And that's the only way we knew how to deal with it. They didn't really know what, it was still so new that they didn't even know really how to deal with it. And it was still thought of as, if you had this, then you were weak, or you were only using it to try to get out of the military. So because that stigma was going around, it prevented even more people from going to even getting help. So we just continued to all drink it away, and just try to stay numb. Um, so we ended up getting orders for our second deployment. We're going back to Iraq, and our unit was, we celebrated because we felt like we were all of us felt more comfortable in Iraq than we felt back home, because everybody our age we couldn't relate with. They're all making, complaining about mom and dad not paying their gas, or paying their electric bill or their car insurance. And, here, I was 21 years old and already buried 18 friends. And, for my 21st birthday, I had an RPG shot in front of my face that I could have grabbed if I was fast enough. Just how close it was. So we end up going back. I just found out that my wife was pregnant prior. Found out 2 days prior that we were having a boy. And we go to Baghdad. We're getting destroyed. And our unit was one of the main reasons for the push, because of how bad we were getting hit. And I get sent home. I get home March 14th. My son's born the 16th. And then April 1st, I'm back over to find out that one of my best friends was killed on the 29th. And then on April 4th, we lost two guys that were 19 and 20 years old. And that just took all the joy away that I just had from coming home for my son. So it was just, it almost seemed like it wasn't real. That deployment led, and I came home December 29th. Same thing. They told us that we needed to get help, that I had TBI, that I had PTSD. And I was same thing. I was told to just figure it out and deal with it. So this time they tell me I have recruiting orders. They're going to give me some time. Going recruiting, I was just so numb and suicidal that whole time, just because I couldn't figure out what was going on, why things why they were, the way they were. Didn't understand why I couldn't remember things, why my fuse was so short, why I could go from 0 to 100 over the dumbest things, and how my kids were part of my triggers. And one of the hardest things in the world is to see your kids 1 minute and smile and have all the joy in the world, but then the next minute your kids are triggering you to the point where you're reliving the worst nightmare in your life, and you relive more nightmares from your kids than you were enjoying them. And it just felt like it was a never-ending trail. Like it would just never be able to figure these things out and to be able to overcome it. And I just thought that my kids were going to constantly trigger me all my life, and it was going to, make me a horrible parent. So I tried to push them all away. And, recruiting, I was excelling in it. They offered me promotion to E7 to convert and stay out on recruiting the rest of my career. I turned that down to go to Fort Stewart. I knew Fort Stewart was getting ready to deploy again. They were going to Afghanistan. So I thought, this is my chance to die over in combat, so my family could remember me as a hero instead of a statistic, because I knew if I stayed around that I was toxic and I was going to destroy my family without even trying. Uh, and then I get there and train with my guys for a year, and a month before deployment, they yanked me from deployment because I ruptured a disc in my back, which then just sent me in a spiral. Because I realized that I just threw away a promotion to come try to deploy, and now my chance of deploying was gone. So I just at that point I was like, man, I can't even go to war. I'm like, my whole life is just falling apart. And my wife finally, she convinced me, like, you need to just go get help. She says, well, because the Army, if you're not here, she's like, yeah, your your kids and I, they're like, we deserve better. She's like, but most importantly, she goes, you deserve better. You were there, you made it back. She's like, you deserve to live. She's like, so go get the help. No matter what, she goes, we'll be here. We'll support you. We have your back. And so I go and I do 35 days in Laurel Ridge, and um, end up being told that I'm being recommended for the medical evaluation board and get pushed out with 100%. And they're like, oh, congratulations, go do nothing the rest of your life. And all I thought was, I'm so broken that I can't even deploy. They told me that I was so messed up that they didn't even need me anymore, that I was non-deployable. I was like, so I'm so jacked up that I can't even go to war and die for my country. And I just that at first I thought, all right, well, the hardest part's over. I'm out. So now I'm free to do whatever. I'm safe. But then shortly after I got out, I realized that, man, when I was in, every single day I was surrounded by people that understood and knew. When I told them I had a crappy night, they just could relate, and they knew, and we could talk about it, and we all understood and spoke the same language. Well, now I'm out as a civilian, and I'm surrounded by nothing but people that only have heard the stories. And then when they hear your stories, they look at you like you're crazy because they think you're making them up, because the only time they ever hear these stories is in the movies. And then you have your own family that even second guesses you and ask you, if you really, because aren't missing limbs, that they don't think you should be getting medically retired. And so you start second guessing yourself. You don't want to talk to family. You don't have your people every day there to talk to. And just tried to do what the military told me. It was to suck it up, drink water, and drive on. Well, that lasted from August till around Thanksgiving, when I lost. I wasn't sleeping anymore. I was just falling apart. And one night, after reliving the nightmare of me being left behind, except for this time they captured me. And when I woke up, I couldn't breathe. I ran to the bathrooms, was getting sick, and came back and just sat on the edge of my bed. And at that point, I was like, I'm done. I just can't do this anymore. I just wanted to sleep. I was just tired. I was exhausted. And so I'm sitting on the edge of the bed with my pistol, and two thoughts go through my head. Is one, make sure that there's a round in the chamber because I'm not pulling the trigger twice. And then once I realized there wasn't a round in the chamber, the next thought went through my head was, if I rack around in this chamber, it's going to wake my wife up. She's going to ask questions. I'm going to have to talk, and I'm not ready to talk. So I put my pistol away and went and sat on the couch and tried to deal with it on my own. But this nightmare was just so graphic that every time it would come back, I would just start hyperventilating, and I would just start having an emotional breakdown. And, after a couple of times of that, finally I called the VA and I said, look, I can't do this anymore. was like, I'm falling apart. I said, I about killed myself last night. And I said, I just need help. She said, all right. She puts me on hold. And then she comes back with an appointment for 2 days later. And I just felt abandoned. I'm like, I just told this lady I couldn't handle another night. I'm like, I'm afraid to go to sleep. And I've already gone, it was 10 days of only getting a few hours of sleep a night. And last night was the worst nightmare I've ever experienced. And I was so afraid to go to sleep that night because I couldn't handle reliving that nightmare. So I sat up and just watched TV. It was my plan until my phone rang, and it was my buddy Chris. And we ended up sitting on the phone, all night and worked through things. And he kind of just gave me a different perspective and a different outlook on things. Originally, he just asked me, well, why did I originally serve? I said, well, because I love my country. I wanted to serve my country and protect the ones that I love. He said, all right, well, when you were serving, he said, the government paid you, right? I said, well, yes, sir. He said, okay, well, now that you're out, the VA's paying you, right? I said, yes. Yeah, they are. He's like, all right, well, now think of it as the VA's paying you to take care of your brothers and your sisters. He said, we have the suicide issue we're dealing with. And he said, your story is powerful and your story is gonna save lives. And I didn't think I had a story because I didn't think I really did anything. I just felt like I did my job, just nothing fantastic. So I just kept procrastinating, and my mother-in-law, finally she was kept haggling me about going to church. And I was, at the time, I was just so anti-church because I was just mad at God about, everything that I've seen and been through, that I couldn't fathom that there actually was a God. So I just kept refusing. And finally she's like got on my nerves so much that I was like, all right, fine. I was like, if I go, I said, you're going to leave me alone. And she's like, you go once. She goes, and I'll never ask you again. I'm like, all right, fine. I'll go one time just so you'll leave me alone. So I'm in church and I'm getting angry just because everybody else is looking happy and cheerful. So I go to the back of the church just to get away from everybody. And I start just getting more mad, and I start just going off on God, like, how dare you? And then I just go on this rant. I'm like, there's no way if you really existed, Justin, you wouldn't have let all this happen. If you really are up there, you would just strike me down dead right now. I said, and just end all this suffering. And as soon as I said that, it was like somebody was whispering over my shoulder. I heard, quit feeling sorry for yourself. Look at everything that I pulled you through. What good is it to have an answer to a secret if you keep it a secret? Share your struggles and your hardships with others to give them strength and hope to pull forward. And at that moment, that's when I knew that, I need to go home and write my story. And I still took months to write it because every time I'd write it, I would just fall apart. And I send it to Chris, and he has it ready like overnight. And it was a Thursday morning. He told me when I gave it to him, he said, we're going to try to get this published. He said, expect 300 to 400 people to read it because of its length. He said, but, it's 300 to 400 lives you changed. And I was like, all right, whatever. So I get an email on like a Thursday morning saying we're live. It's people were reading it. I get that email late that night, so I wait till the next morning and I text them and ask them how it's going. And he's like, man, you're not going to believe this. He said, but we're over 1,000 readers already. And by the end of the weekend, we was over 5,000 readers. The next thing I know, I started getting messages from family members. I read your story. I want to thank you because I now know what my loved ones are dealing with. Or I want to thank you. I now know I'm not alone, and it helped me get through the night. And it just spread like wildfire. It started growing, and a guy came to us and said, I got this idea for this app, and I want to give it to you guys because I want to see what it does. I want to see how many lives it saves. Originally, it was like Yelp for veterans, so we could rate the VAs and kind of hold the VA's feet to the fire. But we realized while doing research on that when most veterans die by suicide, that they do it within the first 5 minutes of making that decision. So we realized that we needed something that was instant. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I don't trust anybody the way they treated me, and the things happen. So we need something that's anonymous. So we brainstormed for months, and we came up with the Objective Zero app, which the Objective Zero app it's live. It's a 501c3. It is free to download. It's free to use. We cover all the back end cost, and we will for eternity. The app allows veterans, their family members, caregivers, DoD employees, all instant and anonymous access, instant and anonymous connection in a time of need by video, text, or talk by a touch of a button. We provide all the training. We take volunteers. Anybody can be a volunteer. Anybody can become an ambassador. If we want this nation to actually see a difference, it's going to take this nation coming together and serving as one. And, everybody yells about the government not doing this and the VA not doing that. And, everybody's wanting to raise awareness. But we see the awareness that's there. Everybody knows it's happening. But not many people want to do anything about it. Not many people want to come up with a solution. Our veterans, we're the only ones that really know what it's like. We're the only ones that were willing, and our first responders, the only ones really willing to die for this country without asking anything. So our veterans, it's going to take us coming together and being the leaders, being those lights, being the guidance of what a leader and a mentor is supposed to be. It's going to take us coming together as a nation to make a difference. So that's what I'm here to ask today is 3 ways that you can help. One is go through our training and become an ambassador and be willing to answer the phones via voice, video, or text. You can choose, you can set your own hours as an ambassador. Second way to help is to just tell every veteran, every military person anybody you even know that has a connection to the military about this, to let them know, because it might be the person that you tell that it saves their life. They need somebody to talk to. So, just spread the word. And then thirdly is donations. Currently this year, expectations is about 30,000 is what we're expecting the back end cost of running the app to pay for all the text and all the hours used. And next year, depending on growth, is expected between 35 to 40,000. So us on the back end. That's what we do. You know, my job as a speaker and storyteller. It'd be nice to be able to just focus on that, but currently everybody in the organization is not paid other than our executive director, because we just don't have the funding. We don't have the solid commitments by any organization other than Lemonade. But even Lemonade is a one-time donation at the end of the year with remaining funds that they have, so we can't really allocate what we can expect yearly. So it makes it challenging for us. So those are the three ways that we need help. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for what you guys are doing. And if you have any questions, the floor is open.
Thank you so much. It was very impressive. And
So Justin, Michaela Scheller here. Hi. Just question on your folks that are answering the phone. Is there training? Or are they all vets, or is it anybody?
The training is done by, it's on the app. So we have 3 levels of training. The first training is the same training that the VA does with all of their employees. Then we have a little over a dozen courses by Psych Armor that our ambassadors can go through. And then Dr. Craig Bryan out of Salt Lake City, Utah, has a program. He's one of the world's leading educators on PTSD. So our ambassadors go through that training. It can be anybody. We've done surveys and realized that some of our veterans actually feel more comfortable talking to a parent or a civilian than they would somebody else that served, due to the thought of being judged or maybe laughed at, or thought that, because they didn't deploy or because they're one branch or the other, that they're, of lesser value. So we opened it up. We wanted our app to be completely friendly, user friendly. We wanted the user to be able to filter through, have the options of who they wanted to talk to. And so we wanted to make those options clear, everything down to civilian, to doctors and therapists, to family members, to caregivers, and through all the MOSs.
No. Thank you.
how many years it's between the point you were so broken that you didn't know any future for yourself or didn't see any future for yourself, and today?
Well, I mean, there's, from when this all happened, I mean, that was November of 14.
Mm-hmm.
So what, 6-7 years going on. But until it actually hit me that what we're doing was really making a difference, was when I saw last year's numbers, and I saw that over 10,000 people used the app alone last year. And then just putting that thought in the context of, even if just 1% of that was quite a few lives being saved. And they say that roughly every suicide affects 130 or so people. So at 10,000 being 10 at 1%, 130, it's a lot of people that are affected. That's a pretty huge ripple effect that kids for generations are going to have loved ones involved in their life. And it was when I saw those numbers that I finally like hit me that what we're doing is really making an effect. So I mean, there was even years there that I still thought I was just wasting time and spinning wheels.
How you been today?
What's that?
How you been today? How you feeling today? Better?
Oh yeah. So I really committed myself to being like the guiding light for a veteran. So I take advantage of any type of training that I can go through,
Mhm.
any courses, any type of medical treatment. So I've already received this one injection called the SGB, the Stella Ganglion Block injection. And I got the right side done July 22nd. And I'm getting scheduled to get the right side and left side done here in the next couple of weeks. So learning the root cause of my trauma, and understanding that most of my trauma came from childhood, and understanding how the childhood trauma and then compounded with the combat trauma, and actually making sense of things. PTSD ruined my life until I decided that I was no longer going to allow it. When I decided that I was going to take charge and I was going to study this and I was going to understand why everything was the way it was, and then things started making sense, life started becoming easier and more enjoyable. Not to say that it became a complete, perfect ride, but understanding things like, family history, makes what happened to you as a child, through your parents, it makes you appreciate things. At least for me, it made me appreciate things a lot more when I found out that the things that happened to my mom at such a young age and the things my dad, with my grandfather being in Pearl Harbor and drinking himself to death, and the abuse that he saw as a kid, it's just made things make sense, and has made things a lot easier, has mended fences that I never thought would be mended. So things have definitely gotten a lot better. My kids and my family understand. I have conversations with them now, and now, I realize the importance of communication. So when something does affect me, and if I'm with my wife or my kids, and I let them know, that something's going on, so they understand. And then after I have some time of processing it, asking myself, okay, what in my life happened, that caused me to have this reaction today? And then after I, meditate and do some thought and studying and in-depth research, figuring it out, and then I explain it to my wife and kids of, this is why this affected me. And it has opened their eyes to just understand exactly what I've been through. So to see them understand and not have the reaction I thought has been truly blessed, truly a blessing.
Give you a lot of support as well, so that's important. That's one reason, why I like, for my personal opinion, I love motorcycle, because all your thoughts, what you have, what's going around your head, and you're sitting on a bike and riding to our beautiful world, you're smelling, the flowers or the trees, or when you're going through a forest or whatever, and you can sit on the bike and can enjoy, be with yourself, but be not numb because you have to ride, right? But you getting a feeling of peace in yourself. Did you ever ride motorcycle?
I did.
maybe you like to join us, you know, I think it would be great.
Yeah, I had when I was at Fort Stewart, I had me and my wife, we went on a ride to meet my family and my kids for pizza. And then for some reason, my wife didn't want to ride home with me. And so on my ride home, it was lightly drizzling, and
Mhm.
a car full of kids passed me. And as they're passing me, they realized there was a car coming that didn't have their lights on. So they couldn't
Oh,
really see it because it was right at that dusk. So the car cut over, almost cut me completely off. And then when they cut over, realized there was their turn. So they slammed on the brakes. Uh, and I either had the choice of going into oncoming traffic, off the road into the woods, or eat the back of the car. So I dumped the bike and didn't realize it till I went home, but I slid head first into oncoming traffic and the car hit my head,
oh,
which
oh.
is what spun me around and allowed me to pop up on my feet. So after that, the wife was like, yeah, you're getting rid of the bike.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm still trying to talk her into one. So that's to
Send
work.
her to us. We can tell her something about it. No problem. So we just had a ride in North Carolina, right? So maybe next time, you know, you are very welcome to join us whenever you want, because I think the main thing is nobody can, you know, can get these things from you away because you was going through it. Now I'm really so sorry that you were so alone for a long time with that. But you know, motorcycle, meet people and not be at home in your own, you know, go out, talk about that, and allow yourself maybe to have joy, you know, and to have fun and have funny stories and meet people and only talk stupid stuff. I call it gasoline talks, you know, but it doesn't matter. The important thing is to go out and do something, be active, and this is what you're doing, and this is phenomenal. So congratulations to that. I just already downloaded the app, so I will look at a little bit on this. So thank you again for your speech tonight. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
well, thank you for your service. Really, I do appreciate everything you're doing. I think it's
Yes,
great.
thank you
I think
very
the app's
much.
Awesome.
You're all very welcome. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Always, you're always welcome. You have the number, you can dial in. Join us every Wednesday night.
Yeah, and you don't have to ride. You can still join.
Yes. Yes. She can make small steps, you know. First she listen, and then she won, then she get maybe the other step.
Yeah.
I'm working on
We
it.
will help her, no problem.
Let me know. And I mean, I would love to go on a ride. You know, if I don't have a bike, we'll figure something out. But I
Yeah.
still love to ride.
That's okay. We got quite a few people that ride with open top Jeeps, Spider, Corvette, you know, pick your poison, right?
And it's also good when you have some cars, they protect the group also if you have a big group. So we in Texas, so Deborah and I right now organizing a ride against to eradicate polio, you know, to make money for polio vaccinations. There's only one case open in Pakistan already and one open in Afghanistan. Because we don't know what's going on in Afghanistan now because nobody can go in already. But we're working on that, you know, and this is one ride we do. So make something with passion, riding, and do something good. And I think that would be also something you can do maybe.
Well,
Yeah.
whoever
Well,
wants
you can
to
always do an
mark their
objective
Corvette.
zero. We can do an objective zero ride donation ride too.
Mhm.
Whoever wants to let me borrow a Corvette, just let me know. I'll be glad.
I don't have one of those either.
When you want to come down to Texas, you can do that. 25th of September, we're doing our ride.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's not working.
Yeah. Do you have a storm coming up, Mickey?
I don't know. Jeff got these new electronic lights, and
Okay.
apparently he's the only one with the app on his phone. Apps, love apps. He's the only one with the app on the phone to make it work.
Okay. So do anybody else have questions? And Justin, I know you have another speech tonight, right?
Yeah, it's well, I'm in a business boot camp, trying to get my cell phone case patent going, and it was supposed to be over. Well, they got the grant extended to extend the course because they didn't get the outcomes that they were hoping.
Mhm.
And so they extended it and added on some more Wednesdays, tonight being one of them. So I'm going to go jump on there and meet my new mentor that's going to help me develop a business plan and get all that put together. So
Paper stuff.
Well, best of luck to it.
thank you very much.
Hey, Justin, I just wanted to thank you for your service and thank you for all the work you're doing for veterans. My father-in-law, he's a Vietnam veteran, and one of my son-in-laws is as well a veteran from Afghanistan. So thank you for all the work you're doing. And if you need help with the business side of what are you doing, you have plenty of support here and knowledge from all our Rotarians that are businessmen and retirees that have a huge base of knowledge for business as well. So don't hesitate to reach out.
I appreciate that.
Yes.
Yep. Well,
There's only stupid questions. No, stupid answers, never stupid questions,
That's right.
Yeah. So thank you again.
all right.
So we will have a board meeting after this meeting.
Okay.
Take care. Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Justin, so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Very impressive. I was really touched, I can say. Unbelievable. Through what the guys are really going, So is that all the people they want to join the board meeting?
I'm gonna
go.
take off.
Bye, Larry. Thank you for the
See
donation.
you
by the way.
later.
Yep.
Thank you for your support.
I'm bugging out too. Don't
Okay.
Nice to see everybody. Have a good night.
Bye, Linda.
Yep, turn your
See you later.
Bye,
recording off.
Emilio. Missed
Nice to see
you.
you, Ute. Absolutely.
See. Bye.
night, Emilio.
See you, Dave.
You all take care. Have a good week.
Bye, Tom. Thanks for
Take care,
joining
Tom.
us.
Bye,
Oh,
Tom.
I forget the four-way test, by the way. So do we stop the recording now? Yeah, right? Linda?
Yeah.
Okay, I will stop it. Yes.